Go fruit yourself.
Hey Fruit Bats, it's Really Banana Girl here. Welcome to another episode. So I just got off the bike and I'm having my Datorade, super sweet Datorade. I'm just using this bottle. This isn't actually the right bottle for this pineapple juice. Really, really good. And so today we're continuing on with our series, or this is the start of the mini-series about the Great Starvation Experiment. If you haven't watched the video that I did on this, the overview, that's the first video, go and watch that video. I'll put a link in the description below. Go and watch it, come back so you're up to date, so you're on the same page as us. And so today's video is specifically about food pornography. That's right, food pornography. And you might be like, well, what the heck are you talking about? How does this relate to the Great Starvation Experiment? Well, what I mean by food pornography is the obsession that these guys had with food when they were starving, to the point of it becoming addictive, like pornography. Like they just couldn't get enough of it because obviously they were starving. So the brain, it sends you to food and a reminder of food, anything to do with food. The brain will send you there when it is starving, when it's not getting enough glucose. So it's totally understandable. But I just wanted to talk about a few things I thought were really interesting to do with their behavior and this food obsession. One thing they did was collect recipe books and cooking magazines. So in between their rations, they had these 2 meals per day where they had their measly little rations. They only had, as we said before, 1,600 calories average. In between, when they were having this food, they were just thinking about food all the time. As you can imagine, as I'm sure you've experienced yourself, thinking about food, and that's all they could do. So they got these magazines and these recipe books and they just flicked through them and they just salivated. Absolutely salivated over the recipes, thinking, oh, I'm going to make this when I get out of here, or oh, I wish I could eat this right now. And they're kind of, just kind of like stimulating their brain to think that they're actually eating it. So it's quite amazing what the brain will do. And I've had this experience in my past. Actually, when I was riding across Australia, I didn't tell anybody this because it's pretty embarrassing, except Harley. And at the time, it was kind of shameful for me because I was raw vegan. I was 100% raw. So what was I thinking about cooked food so much for? So what I did was I actually collected a few cooking magazines. And I remember going into the news agency and being embarrassed about buying them. Like the clerk knew I was raw vegan, but I was embarrassed about buying them. So I quickly just, put them in my bivvy bag and just went on my way. But I would just sit there and I would also salivate over these recipes. So when I heard this in this book, I was like, wow, that connection is really powerful. So that is what your brain's going to do. Even though I wasn't like, looking ultra skinny or anything like that, like I was starving, I still wasn't getting enough glucose from my brain. The brain knows best. The brain is going to tell you how much glucose it needs. It's going to say, hey, eat. So you just need to be discerning in the moment and eat the right calories. And I wasn't listening up to that because I was having like half a watermelon in the morning for breakfast, an unsweet watermelon, setting myself up for this major undercarb day. And instead of eating enough calories, I'm looking at magazines and looking at recipes and going, oh, that looks so good. And did I need cooked food? No, I just needed to eat enough calories from fruit. But it was in the middle of winter and it was very difficult to do. So another thing is, what I thought was quite interesting was one guy took his girlfriend to the most expensive restaurant in Minnesota, the best, had the most amazing food there apparently. And it was very expensive. He took her there just to watch her eat. So he ordered the best thing on the menu, what he thought was the best, and it was the most expensive, ordered that, and she just, when the waiter came out, she felt so guilty that she couldn't eat it in front of him. And he was actually pretty pissed off about that because he just wanted to sit there and watch her eat and get his porn fix, if you know what I mean. And I've definitely had this experience as well where like I've cooked when I've been in this starvation mindset where I've cooked for other people and just wanted to watch them enjoy it. Just kind of like, watch them and gotten off on that. And I did that when I was fasting as once. I cooked for my friend and I just watched her and I'm like, I just want to eat that so bad in my head. But then I'm like, no, I'm powerful, I'm strong, I can resist that. It's just very disordered eating thinking, that's for sure. And another thing, these guys, a few of the guys who had no interest at all in food before the experiment as a career, so like a chef or something like that, they actually, a number of them became, I think they became chefs. Yeah, they became chefs and people who work in the food industry. So they go from having no interest at all to working as chefs, and I thought that was very, very interesting. The obsession with food is, it's telling you something. If you're feeling obsessed with it, and some of you might be like, oh, you're obsessed with food, Freely. It's like, no. I'm just concerned about what I put in my mouth. It's different being concerned about what you put in your mouth and being obsessed to the point where you're only going to have 20 grapes instead of 21 grapes. You're counting them out. That's when you need to take a step back and go, look, am I eating enough here? Have I got my shit together? And no, you don't if you're thinking in that way, especially about a natural food like fruit or grapes. So did I speak about the buddy system where they would actually, they could only leave the lab with a buddy in case they cheated. So they would leave and they would go and watch people at a cafe or restaurant together. They would just sit there and they would watch people eat and just salivate, just watch them, every little mouthful, they would watch and be obsessed. So can you relate to that? I'm sure you can. If you've dieted, if you're dieting right now, I'm sure you can relate to that feeling of just, thinking about food a lot, being obsessed with recipes maybe, or watching people eat or cooking for people. If you have, let me know in the comments below, because that's definitely a sign you're not eating enough, the brain's not getting enough glucose, so you need to listen to that. Don't deny your hunger, listen to those cues, okay? Just be discerning about what you eat, and eat until you are satisfied. That's all you need to do. So that's my little tidbit for today. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed that. If you want more tidbits, we've got a very interesting one coming up about body fat next, so stay tuned. And check out this book. It is excellent. I just want everybody to have this book. So anyway, don't forget to go fruit yourself or root yourself, and I'll see you soon.